You know, there was a time when Washington was serious about cutting spending, and this gentleman was a key proponent of it, advocate for it, and actually came up with a way to do it. There's a concept. I'm talking former Republican Senator Phil Gramm, one of the key names behind something called Gramm-Rudman-Hollings, a bipartisan effort to force budget savings and spending restraints. What a great concept back then, Senator. Where's the will to do that in either party now?
Well, Neil, you're showing your age.
I am, my friend, I am.
It was a while back. Well, we had a crisis then. Interestingly enough, we had our first vote to raise the debt ceiling above $1 trillion. There was a bipartisan consensus that something needed to be done. As usual, there wasn't much of a consensus as to what to do. And the idea that we had was a simple idea, was to force Congress to make hard choices.
But a mechanism was set in to do it. I want to just bring, especially younger people, or certainly anyone younger, let's say, than 80, who you knew, and I'm joking, just to say that there was the will and there was a way, and they obviously found ways around that since. But it can be done, and I'm just wondering, everyone's for tax cuts, everyone seems to be for giving people more money, but I don't know whether you're in the camp that equates it with spending cuts that equal whatever you're doing in Texas, but that it can be done. Where and how did the will get there to do it?
Well, it's hard to say. I think we were coming off the 1970s where we had had a wasted decade.
Right.
In some ways, not unlike the last 8 years. We have had through slow growth, which largely, in my opinion, we chose with restrictive regulations, with massive tax increases that stifle growth. And we left all that money on the table, and then we increased spending. And we're now facing a situation where when interest rates return to their historic norm, we've got $1 trillion deficit a year until Jesus comes back. And we've got to do something about it.
But does that make you, Phil, today anti-tax cut? Do you have to pay for them as you would any new spending? How do you look at it? There are a lot that say, well, we have dynamic accounting and account for the revenue you get from taxes. So I understand that. But if you were working with your old colleagues today, would you treat it the same way as spending or what?
Well, I think we need to have a rational tax code. I think we need to eliminate all of these subsidies that distort resource allocation. We need a simpler system with lower rates, and we will get some economic growth. We've left a couple of $1 trillion on the table in the Obama era because the economy didn't grow. You can't deal with the deficit if you can't grow. But having said that, and I'm very much for tax reform that stimulates growth, but in the end, we have got to do something about spending. Medicare is going to go broke in 11 years. Social Security is going to go broke in 17 years. Under the Obama program, Medicaid will have 1/4 of the population of America under that program in 5 years.
So something's got to be done.
This can't add up. It can't be paid for.
Well,
and we've got to have reforms. I mean, obviously, we've got to raise the retirement age. People have got to work longer. They are living longer. Many of them are working longer. We ought to give them credit. They ought not to have to pay Social Security when they work longer. But we have got to make some changes.
No, you're right. These are all realistic adjustments. I keep jumping on because we're coming to a break. But, Senator, I want to thank you because I do remember that. I do remember how you were the first to address that and actually find a way to deal with that. We've forgotten that. But it has been done, so there is a precedent. You're that precedent. Senator Gramm, thank you very, very much.